Welcome to Creative Power, a podcast designed to help you claim the full spectrum of your creative potential. I'm Camilla Fellis-Arnold, and I'm passionate about discussing how we change the face of both the creative industries and how we interact with creativity itself, so that it nourishes our soul and helps us express ourselves with alignment, flow, and authenticity. Let's get started. Welcome to Creative Power. Have you been feeling that shift into more doing as we move through spring? There's certainly a reason why it's called spring cleaning, as I'm definitely feeling the call to declutter all aspects of my life. I'm not talking just about my physical space either. I'm talking about my mental space too. There's all these new, exciting ideas and projects popping up. And as I spoke about in the last episode, that can also bring up lots of reasons why you shouldn't do them, or you feel you shouldn't do them. Imposter syndrome may be raising its ugly head right now for you. Don't let it stop you before you've even started. And today, I want to talk to you about something else that may be holding you back, that you may not even realise is in the way. And that is your wounded inner child. Because the truth is, we carry trauma around from our childhood every day, whether we are conscious of the fact or not. And it can have a massive impact on your creativity without you even realising. Why? Well, think about being a happy-go-lucky child for a minute. What does that represent? You might say something like freedom from responsibilities, fun, lightness, and whimsy. Through the eyes of a child, anything is possible because they view the world in a completely different way to adults. I remember, this is a perfect example of what I mean. I remember seeing a post on Twitter a few years ago, and there was someone who said their child wanted to be an astronaut. The parent told their daughter that in order to be an astronaut, she would need to study hard, go to college, learn science, and do a physical fitness test. In response, her daughter shrugged and said, "That's just 4 things." Just 4 things. Big things, yeah, but still just 4 things. And that is how children see the world, with a simplicity that we lose as adults. We become burdened by life, responsibilities, seriousness. The world loses its sense of wonder for many of us, and we become jaded. It is completely understandable. But what if we were able to go back and trace the point where we lost that spark and heal it? What would that unlock for us? I think truthfully, it is incomprehensible until you actually live it, until you experience it for yourself, that healing. When I think back to my childhood, I remember playing. I vividly remember sitting at a table with my grandma when I was about 3, playing with Play-Doh. I wanted to make an apple tree, but it was so top heavy it just wouldn't stand up. So we settled on making a picnic basket filled with apples instead. I remember being a child and finger painting, paper mache. I spent countless hours pinning sequins into polystyrene animal shapes. Don't know if you remember that sequin art, but oh my goodness, I absolutely loved it. I wrote and painted and danced and sang with abandon. Everything was within my fingertips. It was all possible. My garden was a secret world with a magical weeping willow tree in it. that it could transport me anywhere I wanted to go. I was gutted when the weeping willow tree was cut down because of what it meant to me and what it had done for my childhood. And to be honest, I'm still a little bit sad that it had to be cut down because it encapsulated so much magic. I wished as a child that I had a basement because I read a book called Wanted, One Dragon by Beth Webb, where a child kept a dragon in a cellar, and I wanted to do the same. I remember the animated discussions that I had with friends over whether fairies existed after Fairy Tale, A True Story was released in 1997, I think. FYI, I was firmly on the side of fairies being real. The point I'm trying to make is being a child, being creative, being imaginative, they are all inextricably linked to one another. And it's nothing to do with how old you are. It's to do with how untamed your mind is. Once we start trying to fit ourselves into boxes and conform to society, when we start being self-conscious and worry about what other people might say or think, we start to lose access to those magical, creative powers. But going back to heal that inner child, healing those memories and giving ourselves permission to play again can really reopen that world for us. I did it myself last year. Because back when I started my coaching qualification, I intended to be a writing coach. Of course, it's opened up massively to all creatives and creativity since then. But working with writers was my original intention because I had set up my own publishing imprint for book design and production. And I found that more and more people were asking for my help with the writing process. So hence, coaching training. In my coaching, since then, I have spent a lot of time helping people work out what blocks are in their way, what is really stopping them from reaching that goal. It may not always look pretty, it's not always pretty to look at, but I hold the space as they navigate what comes up and move through it. More often than not, they tell me about an incident that happened when they were a child, something that shut them off from a certain path. For example, I worked with a client who noted that as a child she had a flair for drawing and art until a comment by her father made her feel she had to pursue something more serious. She put down those paints and didn't pick them up for decades, and she couldn't find any satisfaction in the corporate world she found herself in either. As I coached other people like this, and many of them, I started to question myself. Because the first thing I start with people who want to find their spark and passion, the first place that I go is ask them what they loved doing as a child. Where did they lose hours? What were they doing? Those memories provide crucial clues and always move people into a headspace of wonder, excitement, and possibility. For myself, I already knew that my main creative outlet as a child had been writing. Books, stories, loved it, still all in it, you name it. Over the years, I've had ideas for stories and unfortunately never written anything creatively. And, so many people have asked me, why haven't I written a book? And honestly, I couldn't give them an answer. I didn't know why. But with my new skills in coaching, I decided I was ready to find out. So I began kind of coaching myself. I started digging into my childhood memories. I'll be honest, it was hard because much of it I have forgotten due to various traumas such as bullying and my parents' divorce. Or perhaps we think we've forgotten. I know I did think I'd forgotten. But actually what we've done is we've put it in a box in the back of our minds because it's just too painful to look at. So I started with the things I did remember, like the bullying, mean comments at school that made me feel not good enough. I began to heal those wounds. And as I did, it unlocked other memories that I was then able to face and work through. And I just kept doing this, just kept peeling back these layers, memory by memory. I kept doing this until the motherload of a memory unlocked in my head. I remembered all of a sudden being about 8 years old, and we had a relative come to visit. And I showed them my latest and greatest story, a 12-page, fully illustrated tale called The Princess and the Orb. I'm a fantasy writer at heart, if you couldn't tell. They read it, and I was on tenterhooks waiting for a verdict. And then they said in that kind of nonchalant, sarcastic, but trying to be funny way that adults do, well, it's not Lord of the Rings, is it? Now, I love epic fantasy. The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, they were the ultimate magical worlds for me at that age. So this one comment said in like this really offhand way completely crushed me because I heard something completely different to what my relative actually said. What I heard was, "You'll never write anything as good as Lord of the Rings, so why bother trying?" What the relative was actually trying to say to me, I feel, was, I can see what you're reaching for here. I'm going to mention a famous point of reference to indicate that I'm understanding where you're coming from and what you're aiming for. Of course, as a child, the nuanced meaning of their comment was just lost on me, and I heard it as personal rejection, basically. Consequently, I shut down my dream of being a full-time writer, and I didn't write a damn thing for fun for about 25 years. The only writing I did do was for my work, writing social media posts, blog posts, etc. That was the extent. Deep down, I yearned for more, but I couldn't remember why I didn't feel allowed to access it. And this is what we do when it's painful and traumatic. We put it in a box and bury it so deep that we can forget it's even there. And yet, we then feel blocked from doing something at a later date, and we just can't work out why it's a struggle because we can't remember. This is why I feel healing your inner child can unlock so much forgotten and unaccessed potential and creativity within you beyond our current comprehension even. Now, I'm very lucky that I had plenty of coaching and subconscious tools at my disposal to clean up that memory and reframe it so it didn't hinder me anymore. You know, within weeks, I was writing like I was running out of time. Simply could not stop. Poetry was just pouring out of me. And even now, I have written a chapter for a book that is coming out next month. I'm writing my own book on creative archetypes. I mean, yes, fiction will come later for me. I will get to it. It's still a work in progress of healing the wound, just getting used to the idea that I'm a writer now. The point is, I'm in action writing and have unlocked inspired ideas and new levels of creativity for myself that I didn't even know were possible. And I really want the same for you. Because honestly, this world can be heavy. We need more whimsy, more lightheartedness and fun. We need more magic. And the best place to generate magic is within ourselves. In fact, no, it's not even generating magic. We are magic. It is remembering your magic. Because essentially, we are made of stars, essentially. Every atom in the human body is made from elements forged in the center of a star. I mean, how is that for pretty damn magical? So, how can you heal your inner child? Before you even start, it's important to acknowledge this is a process. There's no instantaneous fix. We can't wave a magic wand yet to make it all go away immediately. So think of it like peeling an onion. There are layers upon layers, and we are just starting with the outside. And as you peel a layer, a new layer gets revealed. In short, strap yourself in and be prepared for it to take time. So think about what the issue is that you're trying to resolve. For me, I was wondering what was blocking my writing, so I followed that thread back and found the 101 places where people had made me feel like I was not good enough. So what is it about the thing that you are trying to do right now? What feeling are you battling with? Is it feelings of inadequacy? Perhaps it's fear, anger, sadness, humiliation. Give yourself permission to feel that way. Because even if it seems unfounded or coming from seemingly nowhere, chances are it's an echo of a time where you did feel fearful, angry, humiliated, etc., etc. Your brain has found that original situation and overlaid the accompanying emotion onto your new project or situation. In short, you are not crazy. This is what the brain does. When making decisions, your brain, your ego, it looks for what happened last time. Totally normal. Only sometimes, if you're doing something different and it doesn't know what happened last time because this is new, your brain will make essentially its best guess as to what it thinks might happen. And then here you are, feeling humiliated about dropping ice cream down your t-shirt or angry that Sally stole your favourite gel pen all over again. So let those memories come up, because evidently they are the ones that are on the surface. All those times someone made you feel small or insignificant. All those times you thought you weren't allowed to do something. Feel free to journal on this if you feel inclined, and create a safe, quiet space for yourself. Make it cozy with blankets and hot chocolate and fluffy cushions, and write out those memories in great detail. In journal therapy, we call this exercise captured moments. Because when I say great detail, I really, really mean it. Start at the very beginning of the scene. And then ask yourself, can I go back any farther? Where were you? What were you wearing? Did the breeze feel cool on your skin? Really paint the picture in minute detail. You'll actually be surprised what details come back to you as you do this. And in doing so, it brings all of these fragments together in your head and turns them into one long sequence in your memory. Kind of like how we defrag a computer, sort of same thing. Then, when you kind of pulled all that together, when you captured that whole moment, reread it. Reflect on it. How do you feel now? Has writing it all down brought up any fresh insights? Did it bring up things that you had forgotten? What can you do with this information now? Maybe there's an action you can take, like writing a letter or having a conversation with someone to clear things up. Other actions that you could take could be subconscious tools to help release or heal the memory, or perhaps you're realizing that it's too big, or you simply can't let go. Okay, does that mean you need extra help with it? Who can support you? Could it be a friend, a therapist, a coach like myself? And then sometimes all you need is to give yourself permission to breathe out and let it go. Feel into your gut instinct. You'll know what you need to do. You may not like the answer, but you will definitely know it. Now, what about those memories that are a little bit further away? This is where, as I said, it can take time to peel back those onion layers, and it can feel a little bit heavy. So let's bring back in some of that childhood magic and excitement. Cast your mind back to when you were little. Where did you lose yourself? Where did you lose hours at a time? What activity were you doing? What did you love doing that was just so much fun you could have done it forever? When did you stop doing that thing? Why did you stop doing it? You might like to try those questions as a free writing exercise, because sometimes the answer or memory doesn't come up immediately. So just start writing and keep going. Really dig in deep. Why did you stop? What happened? You may not have the answer land as you write. It may take days or weeks even later when you're doing something completely different. So in the meantime, we keep on healing those memories that do surface. As I said, you could journal on the whole memory, or use subconscious tools, or seek outside help. One thing that is really important to remember though is that you are dealing with your wounded inner child. So treat it as a child in pain. Be kind to yourself. Ask yourself, what does your inner child need? Maybe they need reassurance or soothing. Perhaps they want a hug or permission to go play. Start talking to your inner child and see what it needs. The answers can be surprisingly insightful and also really simple. My inner child wanted to be told that she didn't have to write Lord of the Rings because, you know what? It had already been written. She wanted permission to write whatever she wanted for her own enjoyment. So, what could your child want, your inner child want? Perhaps your inner child wants to do some finger painting or roll down a hill. Maybe it's having ice cream covered in sprinkles and strawberry sauce, or perhaps it's building your own sofa fort so you can sit inside and read with a torch. We spend an awful lot of time being so serious, and I don't think it really makes anyone happy. So think of this as permission. Allow yourself some silly time. Sit with your inner child and ask what they need to bring themselves into a space of joy and wonder again. Honestly, you'll be so surprised at what working with your inner child can do for your creativity. I'd love to hear about it. So don't forget, you can send me a message on SpeakPipe to let me know what occurs. I'd love to hear how you get on with you and your inner child exploring and playing. Thanks for listening to Creative Power today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and consider leaving a review. To find out more ways you can connect or work with me, please visit www.camillafellisarnold.com/creative power.